Just, just, I'm just trying to get my confidence back. That's all. I'm just trying to go out, play my game, learn from every game. While I'm not playing in the G, learning from the Lakers, learning from my vets, and just keep trying to be myself. And it's been working recently. So I'm happy with my results right now.
And speaking of that confidence, it's so good to see you smiling. I know the spotlight you live under.
Yeah, Mark Walter establishes an incredible standard of excellence, and he has been really enjoyable to collaborate with. I think Jeannie and I have had several amazing conversations with him and keep him informed on all the details.
Billionaire Mark Walter didn't build a $300 billion empire by making sentimental decisions, but the Lakers' controlling owner is now facing his toughest emotional calculus yet. After watching Bronny James' most significant performance as a professional, Walter must decide whether the father-son dream is worth the roster spot, the developmental resources, and the mounting pressure it places on a franchise trying to reclaim its future. This is the inside story of the cold, hard decision that could define the Lakers' next decade.
For me down the road.
How's your confidence right now with everything, and just kind of how are you feeling about where you're at in terms of your development?
I feel great. One of the younger guys on the team, so just trying to learn as much as I can every day from these older guys, and just getting reps. I think that's good for me, whether that's in the G or up here, and taking full advantage of it.
Yeah, I'd say defensively. I mean, that's my role that I want to excel at, especially on this team. We have a lot of guys, Luka, LeBron, and AR, so those guys can go get buckets and whenever we need them, but they need guys.
The game itself was not nationally televised. It was a modest mid-season contest against a lottery-bound opponent, the kind of game that typically generates minimal buzz. But inside Arena, the atmosphere was charged with an unusual, specific tension. All eyes were on Bronny James, not as a curiosity, but as a subject of intense organizational scrutiny. Bronny played 28 minutes, a season high. He finished with 12 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds. The box score was modest, but the how mattered more than the what. He played with a noticeable calm, making crisp decisions in pick and roll, fighting through screens on defense, and most importantly, not looking toward the bench after every possession. For the first time, he looked like a professional basketball player finding his footing, not a legacy project searching for validation. The Lakers' player development staff took detailed notes. His shooting form was compact and repeatable. His defensive footwork showed significant improvement from training camp. His basketball IQ, long his strongest attribute, translated against NBA athletes in ways it hadn't earlier in the season. There were tangible, measurable signs of progress. But progress is not production, and production in Mark Walter's world is an asset class. The performance was promising, but promise doesn't win championships or sell premium seating. Walter's team is now crunching the numbers, weighing the developmental investment against the opportunity cost. The decision is far from sentimental. To see the internal debate, subscribe now.
How significant is that for you as a father?
Well, for a father, it means everything. For someone who didn't have that, growing up, to be able to have that influence on your kids and have the influence on your son, to be able to have moments with your son. And then ultimately, to be able to work with your son, I think that's one of the greatest things that a father could ever hope for or wish for. So it's pretty cool.
You've been kind of speaking this into existence for a while, but he had to do his part.
Yeah, for sure.
What have been some of the preliminary conversations you've had with your father about what's expected in the NBA and what you can expect to hear and see once you start playing?
While the basketball world debated Bronny's progress, Mark Walter's analytics team was running a very different kind of analysis. In a private briefing delivered to the owner 48 hours after the game, the data painted a stark, unsentimental picture. The cost? Bronny James occupied a guaranteed roster spot and consumed significant developmental resources, dedicated coaching, G League assignments, and media training that could be allocated elsewhere. His two-way contract, while financially negligible, represented an opportunity cost measured in reps and focus. The return? Measurable improvement, but from an exceptionally low baseline. His advanced metrics ranked in the bottom 5% of rotation guards. His scoring efficiency remained below league average. The LeBron effect on ticket sales and merchandise was already priced into the franchise's valuation. Bronny's incremental commercial impact was statistically insignificant. The projection? Best case scenario, Bronny developed into a solid rotational guard by year 3. Worst case, he remained a G League tweener whose primary value was his surname. Walter reportedly listened to the entire presentation without interruption. When the analysts finished, he asked a single question. If his name wasn't James, would we be having this conversation? The room fell silent. The answer was obvious. The data is clear, but data doesn't account for the human element. LeBron's happiness, the fan base's emotional investment, or the optics of cutting the king's son. Walter now faces a choice between cold efficiency and costly sentiment. To see which path he chooses, subscribe now.
What are some of your goals when you're with the team during your stints here?
Just trying to learn from every game, get better every game, get the reps in, but just overall just trying to get better as a player and a person.
What's it like playing with a vet like Devontae Graham?
It's good, learn from a vet. Like I said, I'm just trying to learn every day, get better every day. So good to, look at guys like that and, pay attention to stuff that he's got going on and he does on the road.
Where are you seeing the gaps between like where they're at and the things they do well consistently versus like kind of the build that you guys are trying to put together?
You want me to compare us to them?
No, I want to know where you think though that like sort of is.
Mark Walter's calculus did not occur in a vacuum. Across the same 48-hour window, LeBron James and Rich Paul were conducting their own parallel assessment, not of Bronny's performance, but of the Lakers' intentions. The James camp knew the organizational review was underway. They also knew what was at stake. LeBron did not make a public plea. He did not grant interviews demanding his son's roster security. Instead, he deployed a more subtle, devastating form of leverage: strategic ambiguity. Through back-channel conversations, his representatives made it clear that LeBron's own decision on his $50 million player option for the following season would be heavily influenced by the organization's commitment to family values and developmental continuity. The message was unmistakable. Moving on from Bronny would be interpreted as moving on from LeBron. Not explicitly, never explicitly, but with enough clarity to make Walter's spreadsheet sprout thorns. Pelinka, caught between ownership's fiscal discipline and his superstar's emotional ultimatum, presented Walter with an uncomfortable reality. The cost of cutting Bronny was not just developmental resources. It was the very real risk of expediting LeBron's departure, triggering a PR firestorm, and accelerating the franchise's rebuild on a timeline dictated by conflict rather than strategy. Walter now faced two impossible futures: invest in a below-replacement level player for sentimental reasons, or lose the greatest asset in franchise history over a second-round pick. The spreadsheet had no column.
Much different than what he is right now? Is that the thoughts, or how do you feel about how it's all going with Bronny?
Look, I think all these guys are in development. Bronny's no different. He doesn't get to be excluded from having to develop. Obviously, I know he wants to make shots, and he will make shots. But again, it's just about building great habits, I think the opportunity for Bronny to play at the league level would be on the defensive end, and that's something that he's really good at now. The other components of the game he has to get better at, and he will.
With the entire rotation healthy, 8 games with AR, LeBron, and Luka, if you can get healthy, what do you think the ceiling is?
Mark Walter did not become a billionaire by accepting false binaries. For 48 hours, his team worked in overdrive to construct a third option, one that acknowledged the data, respected LeBron's leverage, and protected the franchise's long-term flexibility. The solution was surgical and unemotional, delivered through Rob Pelinka to Rich Paul in a private call. Bronny James would remain with the organization, but his primary development would shift entirely to the South Bay Lakers in the G League.
He would practice with the parent team, but play almost exclusively in the developmental league, receiving 30-plus minutes per night, designed reps, and focused coaching away from the Hollywood microscope. His rookie contract would be honored in full. The condition? This was not a permanent roster spot. Bronny would be evaluated at the end of the season on pure basketball merit, with no sentimental weighting. If he earned a rotation role, he would play. If not, he would continue his professional career in the G League or elsewhere. The Lakers would facilitate a trade to a team willing to invest in his development if that path served all parties. Pelinka framed it as a win-win. Bronny gets the focused development he desperately needs, LeBron sees organizational commitment, and the Lakers preserve their precious regular season roster spot for win-now talent. Rich Paul listened. He did not agree immediately, but he did not hang up. The offer is on the table. It's respectful, pragmatic, and entirely conditional. LeBron must now decide whether to accept this structured compromise or continue fighting for unconditional commitment. His answer will define the next phase of his Lakers tenure. Subscribe to see his response.
I'm always proud of my kids, no matter the accomplishment. You know, it's all about the journey. It's all about the support system that we have, and to see Bronny accomplish a dream of his to be one of the top 24 players in the country. You know, girls and guys. So it's pretty cool.
Very emotional day for you, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's always good to see your kids be able to accomplish a goal of theirs and a dream of theirs. So for myself and Savannah,
what do I think? That I'm old. that's what I think. Yeah, I need a glass of wine and some sleep. That's the first thing I think about.
Joining MJ as the only two guys 40-plus play.
LeBron James did not respond with a statement. He did not grant an interview. His answer came in the form of a single, deliberate action. The following morning, Bronny James was on a plane to El Segundo, reporting to the South Bay Lakers for his first full G League practice. The message was unmistakable. LeBron had accepted Mark Walters' terms. Sources close to the James family described the decision as agonizing but pragmatic. The private debate between LeBron and Savannah had been intense. Savannah, ever the protective mother, initially resisted what she perceived as a demotion, a public signal that her son wasn't good enough for the NBA. But the counter-argument, presented by Rich Paul with surgical precision, was undeniable. Bronny was drowning under the microscope. He needed reps, confidence, and the freedom to fail without global headlines. The G League wasn't a demotion, it was a lifeline. For LeBron, the calculus was equally personal. He had spent 2 decades controlling every aspect of his career narrative. Now he was being asked to relinquish control over his son's development, to trust a process he didn't design. It was, by all accounts, one of the hardest decisions of his professional life. But he made it, and in doing so, he signaled something profound to Mark Walter and the Lakers front office. He was willing to partner, not dictate. The king had not abdicated, but he had, for the first time, accepted that his son's future might be better served outside his shadow. The compromise is in motion, but the final verdict on Bronny's NBA future remains unwritten. The G League will now deliver the honest, unfiltered evaluation that sentiment could not provide. The conclusion of this story is not about a decision, it's about a development arc. Subscribe to witness Bronny's true audition.
It's just all a grateful experience. Extremely grateful to be here, to give an opportunity to be here. I'm just trying to showcase my best work, what I've been putting in all after the season, and just take it all in. And I'm grateful everything is
Did you hear from your dad?
Yeah. He's been talking to me after the days and stuff, checking in stuff like that.
So you look at Cooper Flag, what he's doing, especially as of late. Stretch of 4 straight 30-point games, most points by a 19-year-old, most points by an 18-year-old in a single game in NBA history.
With Jay Kidd, his basketball mind, him being one of the greatest point guards to ever play.
3 months later, the data arrived. It was cold, empirical, and utterly indifferent to legacy. Bronny James played 22 games for the South Bay Lakers. He averaged 14 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds in 32 minutes per night. His shooting percentages improved marginally. His decision-making sharpened. He looked, for extended stretches, like a legitimate professional guard prospect. But he did not dominate. He did not force the Lakers front office to reconsider their long-term projections. The advanced metrics still placed him firmly outside the top 100 players at his position. He was, by every objective measure, a developmental project. One worth investing in, but not one worth building around. Mark Walter received the final evaluation in a one-page executive summary. He read it, nodded once, and issued his directive through Ob Pelinka. Bronny James would finish the season with South Bay. The Lakers would not guarantee his rookie contract for the following year, but would facilitate a trade to any team willing to give him a two-way deal. The organization would announce that Bronny was pursuing the best opportunity for his long-term development, a graceful euphemism for a mutual parting. LeBron James did not fight it. He had made his peace months earlier in that silent surrender. When informed of the decision, he simply said, "I just want him to play, wherever that is." Bronny's final game in a Lakers uniform was unremarkable. He scored 8 points in 19 minutes, made a few nice passes, and was replaced late in the fourth quarter. There was no standing ovation, no tribute video, just the quiet, dignified end of a noble experiment that simply didn't work. The story of Bronny James and the Los Angeles Lakers is not a tragedy. It is a case study in the collision between human sentiment and institutional reality. Mark Walter, the spreadsheet emperor, won the battle of cold calculus, but LeBron James, by accepting the verdict with grace, won something more valuable: the understanding that his son's worth was never measured in box scores.